Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I would like to share my thoughts on Maps of Imaginary Towns by S.J. Bradley. This book was sent to me by Fly on the Wall Press. I will begin with the blurb that intrigued me from the beginning about this book. Short stories traversing the emotional terrain of grief, ambition and our relationship to technology. In this captivating short story collection, S.J. Bradley's vivid and immersive worlds have us traversing chilling dystopias of austerity brought to life through intricate maps of connection. In a futuristic colony, a woman named Anna dreams of building a rocket. In a drab council estate, a little girl finds magic in hardship. Forgotten voices reverberate throughout the collection. One thing I need to mention about this book is the craft, because on a craft level, S.J. Bradley just knows what she's doing. Her stories sometimes have an inevitability to them, and this idea that sometimes people are unable to get out of certain situations that are put upon them. There are stories in here that deal with domestic violence. That in particular was difficult to read, and you were hoping for a solution to the problem, but not knowing whether you would be able to find it, given the fact that the author really does write such inevitable tales. And because the beginning tale didn't necessarily end on a bright note. Standout stories in here for me were Gordon Trask, Coming Attractions, and the title story itself, Maps of Imaginary Towns. That story in particular appealed to me because I really like to see how grief is explored in fiction. I thought for such a short tale, it managed to encapsulate the eccentricities of grief, the way that it can make us behave, and the things that we do that are fueled by grief. It was an interesting take on it that I was happy to read and think about and consider. Coming Attractions was a story that I particularly enjoyed because of the voice utilised in there. It felt very northern, it felt very much like it had been written in dialect, and that the author had managed to capture that dialect incredibly well. Similarly, Gordon Trask also used a bit of dialect. It had this voice to it, this quality that just sang off the page, and those stories in particular were the ones that spoke to me the most. It was strange when I'm thinking about this collection that when I was offered this collection and I said yes because I was expecting to really enjoy these like almost science fiction style stories, the dystopic stories the best. But when it came down to it, it was the ones that were grounded in reality, where it felt like real people and it felt like I was reading stories that I hadn't read before. The Gordon Trask I could see being translated into a film, something akin to Brassed Off, because that is what I found myself reminded of. Coming Attractions, another story I particularly liked, has remained in my mind because it felt like this perfect little story about somebody who is content in life but knows that they want more, and knows that they need to make a major change to achieve what they want. Another thing that I liked from this collection were the pieces of flash fiction, which very much felt like wry fables. They were short, they are very much tales that you were in and out of, but just like poetry and occasionally the odd short story, the flash fiction within here bore rereading. Another thing I'll say about this collection is that it did feel like a lot of the people that were milling about within each of the stories were lost in some sort of way, and they were looking for some idea or something to hold on to ground themselves in reality. That's what it felt like. Sometimes these would end on a hopeful note, sometimes they would have not devastating results, but it would be a very somber moment, and I liked that interplay of the pathos and the lightness that was going on within the pages. And I think that one of the things that this author has done incredibly well is the way in which she's managed to craft characters that feel incredibly real in situations that also feel real, and that takes a great skill. And as I say, on a craft level, S.J. Bradley certainly knows how to craft a compelling yarn to keep the reader invested in her tales. While I don't think that I am necessarily the right reader for this collection, I can tell from reading it that there are so many people that this short story collection is going to appeal to, for the fact that the stories are so grounded in reality and because of the themes that they are exploring. And Therefore, if you are able to contend with some grittier, darker subject matters that you might find challenging, then I would recommend heading towards Maps of Imaginary Towns by S.J. Bradley, and definitely look out for the Gordon Trask, Coming Attractions, and Maps of Imaginary Towns, because those were my 3 standout stories. Either way, that is Maps of Imaginary Towns by S.J. Bradley. Thank you to Fly on the Wall Press for sending it my way, and I wish the author every success. Do you think that you are going to go out and give this one a read when it comes out on the 27th of September? Do let me know. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, because until next time, that is all.